Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Good morning. Welcome to our September Partners Meeting and Workshop. I'm Bill Jacobs, Program Manager. I'm joined by Abby Marino, our Conservation Area Manager, Melody Cerniglia, our Early Detection and Rapid Response Manager, and Cassidy Robinson, our Field Projects and Outreach Manager. As most of you know, our mission is to reduce the threat of invasive species and protect local ecosystems on Long Island and in New York City. Here's our agenda for today. We'll begin with the welcome and LIISMA update. At 10:15 or thereabouts, we'll have a partner spotlight by Greg Lowenthal of the Long Island Native Plant Initiative. 10:30, roundtable announcements. And at 10:45, our first presentation will begin aquatic invasive species identification. Then we'll take a break. And then at noon, we have a presentation on how deer shape forest ecosystems, which should be very interesting. Well, let's start with the LIISMA update. LIISMA, we're working on our strategic plan for 2025 to 2030 using a modified group concept mapping process, it's called. We started by identifying priorities. We had sent out a survey form to our email lists and asked folks to fill that out to identify priorities. And we sent out another link which went with our August newsletter. There's a link in there for the second part of the process where we list a bunch of the priorities that folks gave us, and you have an opportunity to rank them by importance, feasibility, and urgency. So if you would like to do that, and we hope you do, if you can check in your email for the August newsletter, there's a link there. It takes about 5 minutes to fill it out. If you can't find it, email us and we'll resend it. So we hope to have the plan finalized by February of next year. And thanks to everybody who's been contributing to that, and I hope everyone can do that. All right, we'll go to Melody for early detection and rapid response highlights.
Thanks, Bill. Now I'm going to take a brief moment to update you on the 2024 LIISMA Field Season's EDRR highlights. So LIISMA, alongside our dedicated and hardworking partners, have been very busy monitoring and managing EDRR populations this year. Here's some, but not all of our favorites. LIISMA is working alongside our partners at Suffolk County Parks and the Third House Nature Center to monitor and manage an Arthraxon hispidus or small carpetgrass population in Montauk County Park in an effort to protect our natural areas from this early emerging Tier 2 species and to protect rare and endangered native species nearby. Population has been closely monitored by LIISMA and the Third House Nature Center and is being managed by Suffolk County Parks maintenance crews. Also, we had Arum italicum or orange candleflower, which has been monitored by LIISMA for 3 years and it's on its third year of management with the New York City Department of Environmental Protection, with the population having decreased in size in comparison to previous years. LIISMA and the New York City Department of Environmental Protection will continue to work in partnership to effectively control this Tier 3 species. LIISMA has been working in conjunction with our partners at the town of Brookhaven and New York State DEC Region 1 Fisheries to monitor and control Ludwigia peploides, or floating primrose willow, populations scattered throughout Artist Lake in Middle Island. LIISMA returns to the site several times annually to monitor and control new populations as they emerge, in hopes that the native Ludwigia palustris will eventually outcompete the invasive Ludwigia. We also aim to protect surrounding water bodies, especially the Carmans River, from encroachment of this species. LISMA has also reached out to Sue Fustel of the Comset Foundation of an early emerging population of Actinidia arguta, or hardy kiwi, a Tier 2 species in Comset State Park. Sue ventured out to the site with Annie McIntyre of New York State Parks and confirmed the location of the population, and LISMA advised them of the best management practices for controlling this species. Sue led a team of volunteers in cutting back the species throughout the growing season and recording results, which has proven to be a challenge due to its tendency to twist around surrounding densely growing vegetation. But it's nothing that this tough group of volunteers can't handle. ComSet Foundation will continue to oversee management of this population, and LISMA aims to monitor annually to keep track of the spread and population density for however many years it takes to eradicate this species from this site. Earlier this year, LISMA coordinated with PSE&G Long Island staff on the management of a Ravenna grass population in a PSEG right-of-way in Port Jefferson. PSEG Long Island arranged for management crews to remove the population, and LISMA will continue to monitor the site for reemergence and follow up with them annually. As well, Sue Fustel of the ComSet Foundation consulted with LISMA on best management practices of an emerging Lonicera fragrantissima, or winter honeysuckle population in ComSet State Park. Once more, the amazing volunteers at ComSet Foundation worked diligently early this year to effectively cut back and entirely remove this species. LISMA and the ComSet Foundation will continue their partnership to keep high priority invasive species out of ComSet State Park and the surrounding natural areas. LISMA has been partnered with the town of East Hampton for several years in the monitoring and management of Limonium binervosum, or Roxy lavender populations at 3 Mile Harbor. The town has taken on management and returns to the site several times annually to control this Tier 2 species, with numbers consistently decreasing. LISMA continues to assist them with monitoring this site and is always happy to assist with management. 3 years prior, LISMA detected Tier 2 species Arundodonax, or giant reed, at Cammons Pond County Park in Nassau County. LISMA is happy to report that after effective control by Nassau County Parks of this Tier 2 species last year, we are seeing no reemergence this year. However, we will continue to monitor this area annually to be sure. Last year, LISMA coordinated with New York State Park staff on the management and monitoring of a Tier 3 species, Dipsacus phelonum, or wild teasel, in Bethpage State Park. Park staff is continuing to annually monitor the species and touch base with LISMA on management updates. As well, LISMA contacted Nassau County Soil and Water Conservation District of 2 small Deutzia scabra, or fuzzy Deutzia populations in the Muttontown Preserve. Nassau County Soil and Water managed one population last year and the other this year. They will continue to follow up with us if any more populations emerge, and LISMA will also be monitoring this site annually. LISMA has also been very busy helping our partners at the DEC with Trappa natans, or water chestnut management with Region 1 fisheries, as well as Pararia montana, or kudzu management and monitoring with the DEC kudzu control program. We also have hydrilla sampling on the calendar with the DEC for September to test for the harmful cyanobacteria Aedochthonus hydrolicola that is known to be deadly to many avian species, especially the bald eagle. Along with a very busy schedule for management planning this year, LISMA has also been hard at work surveying a long list of EDRR species this season for future management potential. The list is much longer than this, but to quickly name a few on our radar, we have been surveying water lettuce, Juliana's barberry, incised fumewort, sapphire berry, yellow foxglove, and bog bulrush locations in the LISMA region. Along with a very busy schedule for management planning this year, LISMA has also been hard at work. Oh, sorry. LISMA is partnering with New York State Ag and Markets again this season to distribute SLF traps to our partners across Long Island. This year, we decided to focus on Suffolk County, primarily in the eastern ends of Long Island. as there was limited data available that far east until now. SLF does seem to be making its way to these eastern areas, but a bit less aggressively than displayed in neighboring counties for now. Methods of controlling this quickly spreading invasive pest are still being explored, and we're happy to continue our close collaboration with New York State Ag and Markets in understanding the distribution and abundance of this invasive pest in New York State and in the LIISMA region. Special thanks goes out to our partners at the town of Southampton, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and the Sisters of St. Joseph Retreat Center for deploying our traps and keeping us up to date on a biweekly basis with the data surrounding them. Thanks for listening to these important EDRR updates. And now I'm going to pass the mic over to Abby with an update on priority conservation areas in LIISMA.
Thanks, Melody. So we'll jump right in with talking about coastal plain ponds, some of our favorite places on the island. We've been doing some Phragmites management there at Sandy Pond, Bellows Pond, soon Long Pond, and also visiting Linus Pond to advance management there with DEC partners. These very small Phragmites stands directly threaten rare species and or sometimes significant ecological communities. So being able to control these small populations when they're small really protects this whole important habitat. At both Sandy and Bellows Pond, we noticed that neither population has grown in size since our management has commenced, and our work contains this population and is slowly decreasing its fitness. These are all manual control methods in these sensitive habitats. As Melody mentioned, Artist Lake is one of our management areas where we're controlling Ludwigia piploides, and we made 2 visits there this season. In our first visit in June, we had many eyes looking for Ludwigia, but only found a few individuals. And then in our next visit, it was the opposite. We had a few eyes looking, but we found many more plants, as this plant can just grow prolifically even in one season. But the good news is that none of this plant was found in areas where we previously managed it. So in doing this monitoring and searching, we're exhausting the seed bank of this plant. And there's also a lot of native vegetation around the shoreline here, so we're always happy to see that. This work helps protect the Carmen's River from Ludwigia piploides potential encroachment. We've also done some work in the Pine Barrens. At Otis Pike State Forest, we returned to control pale swallowwort, a small population there, to prevent it from spreading into the nearby fields that are in this state forest. And protecting these controlling these small populations protects that whole area in the Pine Barrens. Also at David A. Sarnoff Preserve, we were grateful to meet up with the New York State DEC forestry staff, Dan and Natalie, to map some invasive species that are at an entry area, and even more grateful for their work in removing these species like barberry. And lastly, for water chestnut, thanks to the coordination efforts of Carlos Marantes Ariza of the New York State DEC Region 1 Fisheries, we participated in several efficient water chestnut polls, both in Nassau and Suffolk County. And at Connecticut State Park in particular, we were happy to report that the small patch of water chestnut was even smaller this year, thanks to our continued management. We enjoyed a day of aquatic plant ID and surveying with the New York State Parks strike team staff and the New York State DEC boat stewards. And no slide for this because this work happened this week, but we were happy to meet up with Kelsey Taylor of National Park Service to do some surveying on Fire Island this week, and also doing our annual search of the Carmen's River to look for encroaching invasive species such as Ludwigia piploides. Didn't find any. So that's the latest updates on our conservation areas. And I'll pass it off to Cass to finish us off with education and outreach.
Thanks, Abby. Yes, now I'll highlight some of our recent education and outreach initiatives and some upcoming events. So this past June, the LIISMA region took part in New York Invasive Species Awareness Week. And this year's main event for NYSAW was a iNaturalist BioBlitz, where community members observed both native and invasive species around them to learn about local biodiversity and assist in locating invasive species. Overall, there were 500 observations and over 100 participants during NYSAW on the BioBlitz. This was an exciting event kickoff. LIISMA also hosted a training webinar to prepare the community to identify and report invasives ahead of the BioBlitz, hosted a webinar on invasive species communication, which both of these are available on the LIISMA YouTube channel, and we hosted an in-person BioBlitz walk at the Hempstead Plains. We enjoyed botanizing with the community at the plains and even located a new invasive species in the grassland. And our partners hosted some great events during NYSAW too. To highlight a few, the North Shore Land Alliance recruited volunteer power to remove an aquatic invasive parrot's feather and mile-a-minute vines at 2 of their preserves. U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service tabled to educate the community and hosted invasive species removals, beach cleanups, and nature walks across the Long Island National Wildlife Refuges. And Seatuck Environmental Association continued working hard with volunteers to control Phragmites in restoration of Westbrook. Thank you to all who participated in NYSAW and those who hosted events to increase invasive species awareness. Following up NYSAW, LIISMA partnered with the North Shore Land Alliance and U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service to provide invasive species trainings to their respective staff, intern, and volunteers. Both events featured educational walks that focused on invasive species ID, discussion of plant communities, and invasive species prevention, as you can see from one of our participants brushing off his boots there. Later in the summer, LIISMA hosted an IMAP invasives training webinar for professionals and community members who wanted to take their invasive species work to the next level. If you'd like to be like the pros, you can scan the QR code and pull up the recording of this IMAP training on our YouTube channel. Another way you can take your invasive species skills to the next level is to use our new LIISMA fact sheet on emerging invasive species. These species are high priority plants that are very new to the LIISMA region and still have a chance for full removal before they spread. But since we can't be everywhere at once, we need your help to look for these species and let us know where you see them by reporting them to IMAP Invasives or iNaturalist. And you can access this fact sheet on LIISMA.org under Resources. In the next few months, you can look forward to the next LIISMA Partners meeting on December 6th and upcoming plant pressing workshops. So this should be pretty exciting. So stay tuned for details to be announced in our upcoming newsletters and on our website. And that concludes the LIISMA update for today. And now I'll introduce our partner spotlight, the Long Island Native Plant Initiative. So Greg Lowenthal is the president of the Long Island Native Plant Initiative, our host organization. He has served on the LIMPI board for over 3 years. Greg is a CCE Suffolk Master Gardener and a solutions engineer in the cloud computing industry. His passion is cultivating native plants and preserving our local ecosystems. Greg lives in East Northport with his wife and 2 cats. Please welcome Greg Lowenthal. Greg, you can share your screen.
Sure, thank you. Hi, everyone. Let's see. So yeah, hi, everyone. My name is Greg Lowenthal. I am the current president of LIMPI, Long Island Native Plant Initiative. We actually used to be called LINGI, which was for grasses alone, and we were founded by Polly Wiegand. I guess it was like probably 10 years ago at this point. So we are located at on the Brentwood campus of the Sisters of St. Joseph, and we have a plot there and greenhouse, and we also administrate LIISMA for the DEC. This is our second stint. They're 5-year programs, so we've been doing it probably for around 7 or 8 years now. Our mission is to preserve Long Island's biodiversity, and so we cultivate ethically sourced ecotypic plant material. And our goal is to ensure that there's commercial availability for native plants for nurseries, communities, and restorations. And we drive the native plant supply by driving demand through volunteer efforts, education, and outreach programs. So we are with permits from the state and the counties and other government or private entities. We collect native seeds for propagation from our wild populations. We propagate that seed and we plant certain species in a founder's plot to strengthen their genetics. So we take multiple locations of the same species and we grow them together and then harvest their seed, which is a stronger genetic propagation. We provide these ecotypes through plant sales and grants for both the public and for restoration projects. And we educate and promote the awareness of native plant importance to the public. Actually, I'll be presenting on Monday to a local library. So we focus on the native ecotype of our region. There's actually 2, 59 Northeast Coastal Zone and Atlantic Coastal Pine Barrens, 84. And the reason we do this is because native ecotypes are best adapted to live in our ecoregion for the appropriate climate, temperature, weather, seasonality, the environmental stressors like fire tolerance out east, the resistance to pests and disease, and the combination of the relationships between us and between the fauna and the insects and the different animals to the actual plants themselves. So as I mentioned, we have a nursery, and we have a greenhouse and hoop houses and an acreage at the Sisters of St. Joseph. We actually took over their old tennis court. So you can see that on the bottom there. It used to be a tennis court. And so we've been there for, I guess, about 6 years now. We're originally out east at Suffolk Community College, but we had to move at that point. So we propagate our species here. We have hoop houses on the bottom left there, and we have our large greenhouse, and we have a nursery yard on the right where we grow them over throughout the season. So other pictures of our nursery yard. We're actually our plant sale is coming up next weekend, the 14th and the 15th. Is it already? Yes, it's already next weekend. So as I mentioned, this is where we do sell our plants. We are open to the public weekly, and we also have a lot of volunteer efforts. So people coming to help pot plants and do weeding and seeding and things like that. Our founders plot is where our primary mission is. This is where we grow multiple sessions. So usually it's 7. So we take certain species and we collect from a large enough populations of genetic diversity. So like, for example, broom sedge and switchgrass and early goldenrod and things like that. We have 30 some odd species in our founders plot, and we grow 80 some odd species. We collect 80 some odd species out in the wild. They're all S4 and S5. So those are the state ranks for common species. We do not collect or propagate rare or semi-rare species unless if we have a special permit to go do that for a specific project. But the New York State and the counties are, we're focusing on more of the common species to get them into the market and also into people's gardens. We collect seed from those only. So we actually grow only from seed. We do not clone or cut plants. This creates a challenge for certain species that are hard to propagate through stratification and scarification. But we only do that. So a lot of times we'll go across the island to go collect that. We have we're a volunteer-led organization, as Abby mentioned. Actually, as Cassidy mentioned, I am in the tech field. I do not have a background in horticulture, but this has been my passion for the past 3 years. And we do have a lead nursery manager, Maggie, who is full-time now, first time ever. And we also have a part-time nursery manager who helps organize and clean up and things like that, and run the volunteer programs. But this time of year, and we actually just went out with the LIISMA crew yesterday on the Carmen's River, going to collect various riverside species for propagation. Cool. Oops. Hold on. I lost my mouse. 1 second. There we go. I think that was it, actually. So that's basically what we do. We administrate LIISMA. So happy to be part of that program. The dealing with invasive species and removing invasive species and understanding awareness in people's gardens is also very important, because you have to also remove them and while replacing them with native species in order to really garner the most effect in our highly urbanized and cultivated region. Right. I'll pass it back to the LIISMA team.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
Thank you for hosting LIISMA. We appreciate that greatly, and thank you for all the great work that LIIMPI does. I think you're doing more now than ever before, which is fantastic. And I encourage folks to head out to Brentwood when LIIMPI has the native plant sales. Get some great plants for your garden, for your home garden, that are difficult to find elsewhere, if not impossible to find. So thanks again, Greg.
Thank you.
All right, let's do roundtable announcements. We have a good number of people here, so please let's try to keep the announcements to about a minute. If you have something longer to say, we can try to fit that in at the end of the meeting. Or if you have more detailed information to share, please email the LIISMA team and I'll talk with you about that and try to get the word out. So I'll go through the participant list. It's more or less ranked by first name. So the first person is Alan. Hi, Alan. And then the next person will be Billy Roberti. We'll start with Alan. Do you have an update?
Yeah, good morning all. Alan Duckworth, Town of Brookhaven. So yeah, the town's been reasonably successful in getting several grants from the county to remove invasives from Cedar Beach on the North Shore and plant with native species. We have an ongoing county project next to the Swan River, where we're just waiting for DEC permits to remove the invasives in about a 1 acre area just east of the Swan River Preserve. The invasives there are mostly Japanese knotweed and wisteria. Our salt marsh restoration project in Mastic Beach is ongoing. We hope to get the permits soon. And once that's done, we'll try and find the money to actually restore the area. And that also includes removing a fair chunk of Phragmites using both chemical and mechanical means. We have funding from Long Island Sound Futures Fund to restore about a 50-acre coastal forest at West Meadow Beach. There's over 20 different invasive species there, and we hope to remove as many as we can and replace with native species. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Alan. Town of Brookhaven's doing fantastic work. We appreciate it.
Well, we thank you for your hard work too.
All right. Next up is Billy Roberti, who will be followed by Bob Chapman.
Hi, I'm new here. I came here, I'm on your list because I've been trying to identify this invasive species, and I have more information other than a picture to share because I've looked up porcelainberry and it does not look quite the same. What's interesting about this is a very thick root that's extremely pliable, and I'm wondering if that is true of the porcelainberry too.
Okay. Anybody have a quick ID? Otherwise, if you want to, Billy, drop it in the chat.
It's in the chat. That's where
Okay.
I got
All right.
information.
Okay. We'll try to answer it there. Thank you.
Great, because it is horribly invasive.
Yeah. All right. Sorry to hear that. All right.
We're
Good luck
figuring it
with
out.
it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
All right. Bob Chapman, who will be followed by Brooke. Bob, you're muted if you're speaking. All right, we can come back to Bob. Let's go to Brooke. Brooke Shellman. Hi, Brooke.
Hi, my name's Brooke. I'm with Fish and Wildlife Service here at Wertheim National Wildlife Refuge. We're pretty much closing up for the season. Our seasonal interns will be heading out here soon. We've hosted several volunteer work days through the summer. Throughout our 5 work days, we've had about 600 pounds of invasive plants removed. 12 volunteers joining us over, I believe, 40 hours. So it's been a successful season. Yeah, we're just working towards getting things set up for the fall, hopefully clearing through with pesticide use permits for herbicide use at Sayville National Wildlife Refuge, Sayville subunit of Wertheim National Wildlife Refuge, so we can protect the maritime grasslands in that area, but that's still tentative and up in the air.
All right. Thank you, Brooke. Next up is Christian Peterson, who will be followed by Dan Hickey. Christian. All right. I don't hear you, Christian. Let's go to Dan.
Hey, everybody. I'm new here. I'm Dan Hickey. I'm a relatively new forester with the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation. You might be familiar with Tim Wenskis. He's not here today, but kind of just said it might be a good thing for me to attend. So hopefully I can come to more of these meetings. I'm sure Tim has spoken on this before in these meetings, but we mostly manage state lands in Region 2. We're based in Long Island City, but most of our properties are in Staten Island. And so we do a lot of conservation work on approximately 800 acres of land that we manage within this New York City limits. Again, like I said, mostly in Staten Island, but yeah, everything from invasive vines to understory invasives like barberry removal. So all summer we've just been doing that with partnering organizations just to remove whatever invasives we have in our property, and we'll probably just be continuing that. But happy to be here and to learn what y'all do and just be a part of what goes on. Looking at that picture, it did look like porcelain berry to me, but it's kind of hard to tell from just one photo, but hopefully that helps just based on what we've been seeing. We get a lot of porcelain berry on our properties. So thanks again.
Thanks, Dan. Nice to meet you. Welcome. Tim has been with us for many years, since the beginning of LIISMA. So I hope to see you for many years also. Up next, Emily Riley.
I'm just here to learn. I don't have any announcements.
Okay, Emily, thanks. John Turner, followed by Juliana. John, hey, John.
Hey, Bill, how you been?
I've been good. How about you?
Good. Hello, everybody. I've been fine, thank you. I just wanted to make a brief announcement that working with Luke Ormond at the town and the purchasing department, we've finally put together bid specs for trying to advance bamboo control in the town, and we've got a number of properties that have been afflicted by it, as well as a lot of other property owners as well, and so. We hope that through that process, it's now been pretty much formalized. We'll be doing the first purchase order, working with the company that's been selected that successfully bid on it. And so, as time goes on over the next year, we hope to begin to meaningfully attack some of the bamboo stands that exist in town nature preserves. So, that's it.
Sounds good, John. Thank you. Juliana, you have an update. Hi, Juliana.
Hi. So we're working on a lake management plan with GEI. I'm sorry, am I lagging for you?
That sounds good. Yeah, you sound fine.
Okay, and this summer we've been working on Mile-a-Minute and Stiltgrass with our invasive species team in-house. And we also have been working on Japanese knotweed in select locations. And we also have hired a contractor to help us with some of the more intense sites, especially the sites where we are using some herbicide application, or it's just a larger site than what we could handle on our own. I'm sorry, did I mention the lake management plan?
I think so.
Okay, we're still in the process of
bit.
establishing that with GEI, so I'm looking forward to getting that started. I have seen Asian jump seed on a few of our properties. So I've seen that in Sag Harbor and in Eastport. So I'm going to keep an eye out to see if there's more of that popping up. And with regard to the spotted lanternfly observations, we have seen some of the young instars in Eastport, and then at the Hampton Bays transfer station, we've actually seen quite a few adults. But that's actually the only place that we've seen adults. And again, I'm going to be keeping an eye out for that.
Thank you, Juliana. Next up, we have Pam Ireland. Hi, Pam. Do you have an update? And followed by Reese Michaels. All right, let's go to Reese Michaels, and then anyone else I didn't call on, just jump in. All right, I think that's it for the updates. Thank you, everybody.
Oh, well.
Oh, yeah. Hi, Reese.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Sorry, I must have been on mute.
That's okay.
I'm also a newbie. I have several positions, one with Nassau County Soil and Water and another with the Cornell Cooperative in Nassau County. And I just got a new job there kind of bring in speakers. And when I saw your ad, I was very much attracted. And so anybody who'd love to come speak in front of the Master Gardeners, I'd love to have you. And other than that, I'm here to, actually, I also work at Cedarmere, and I know you've done several polls there. So thank you for all you guys are doing, and I hope to learn a lot more about you.
All right. Thank you, Reese.
My pleasure.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Next.